Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Radio Toni, Toni Lontis. She has her own radio show, which I was on the other day. We're delighted to be there. And she's come back to speak to us today of what is resilience. Resilience is something that we all need at the present moment, isn't it? And how do we find it? How do we use it? And in what way do we use it? We're going to be talking about all of that today. But I do invite you to go and listen to Radio Toni and all the wonderful hosts that she has on there on bbsradio.com and Radio Toni /Radio Toni. You'll find her there. And she loves interviewing people like I do, and the people that are really, changing us from challenges, from traumatic events, just lighting us up and showing us the way, because quite honestly, we need a little guidance in the world at the present moment. And I think we need a little resilience, don't you, Toni?
Absolutely. There's so much going on for everyone, and part of what's happening is people not wanting to change or not embracing change, and people fighting back against it, when in fact you just need to go with it sometimes, don't you?
Resistance is futile. I'm just going to let everybody know that your bandwidth today has been a bit of a challenge. You're, from Australia here to Canada. And so if we do get any, bear with us, the content will come out. It is retrograde, and we know how that plays with technology, but we will persevere.
So much problems because it's retrograde. Like,
yes.
Come on, over it now.
Yeah, well, retrograde isn't over, unfortunately, and it really does interfere.
I know. I wish it was.
Mm-hmm. Nope. And it's still here to say that's something we need resilience for, to get through retrograde. And if people don't know what that is, it plays havoc on anything that is technology. It really does.
Absolutely.
And, a nightmare. And now I've got a hair. The cat came by for a hug a moment ago and somehow attached to my lipstick.
That's wonderful. What's the cat's name?
Mimi.
Oh, that's a perfect cat name, isn't it?
Yes. And she's kind of part something else, we don't know what, but she's got hair growing out of ears and paws and everything, and a very furry cat. So when you stroke her or she comes for a hug, next thing you know, you're attached to the fur. But that's the beauty of animals. They really know how to warm us up, don't they? And leave an impact.
They do indeed.
Yeah.
They do.
So retrograde, one part where we need the resilience, COVID, another part where we need the resilience,
Yes.
The changes that are going on governmentally in the world, the changes that are going on with Me Too, Black Lives, and as we talked about in a show today, Child's Lives Matter, and also with the environment. I mean, wherever we go at the present moment, we're facing change, and resistance is futile. You've just got to learn how to use this change for you, that you could be of service to someone else.
Yeah.
So how, Toni?
So I, as you know, Sarah, I've got a fair bit of trauma and dysfunction in my life, from childhood right through to adulthood. And I actually had to learn what resilience meant. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with resilience, it's your ability to bend and flow with what life throws at you. And as Sarah's just said, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. politically, environmentally, all the wonderful movements that are happening at the moment. And so if we want to embrace those changes and make changes in our own lives, we need a certain amount of resilience to do that. So that adaptability, that ability to take on new concepts, new thoughts, new ways of living, new ways of thinking, that's resilience. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people across the world, that's really hard. And what you're not taught as a child is those resilience skills, they can be taught and learned. And you can learn to take a deep breath when you're presented with challenges. And sometimes that's all it means. Sometimes it's just that deep breath before we react.
Yes. That's sometimes more than one deep breath.
Parcel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes many, many deep breaths, particularly if you're watching world politics.
Yes, most certainly.
It can be
one player in particular.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. Actually,
you almost hyperventilate with him.
That's right. One of my new hosts asked me the other day about our wonderful radio technician who produces our shows, and he said, "What do you think he thinks about the big orange-haired one?" And I said, "I'm not actually sure. He seems to laugh when we make jokes about him, but I'm just not sure how he feels." And he said, "Isn't all America just over the orange-headed one?" And I'm like, "Well, I hope so. I really, really hope so."
We will know this November, but we're praying
it's coming up fast.
Yes, it is coming up very fast, and we're praying so. And unfortunately, having done brilliant shows on narcissism, we're looking at somebody who is a damaged child, who is a narcissistic poster boy, egomaniac.
Absolutely.
And even people making fun at him is attention, and he craves attention.
Yes.
Yeah. And there is nothing you can do about it. Nothing.
I know. And it's kind of really difficult to watch a live train wreck of a life, because that's what you're watching, isn't it?
Daily in North America. We live right next door to the States, and what happens there affects us too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sarah, your borders are still closed, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and they will remain closed
to the
probably
US?
In September. Absolutely, particularly to the US. And they're beginning to open up to other countries that have got it under control. We've still got a little, because we went into phase 3, so we've had a little outbreak. And we, talk about resilience. This is something that we really need to step into right now, because that resilience right now is needed in phase 3. It's not back to life as usual. We've still got to practice the common sense. Clean hands, distance, masks, and we could still get back to a productive life, but we have to do it sensibly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If we don't,
and that
we end up like the States.
That's right. And again, that comes back to that resilience, that ability to adjust your life to a new normal. And rather than fighting it or saying it's a conspiracy or they're just trying to control us, no. This is about living a resilient life. And come on, guys, you can get it.
Yes.
You can wash your hands.
Yes.
You can wear a mask.
What are we asking people to do?
Hard.
No. I don't understand the resistance. All we're asking for is persistence.
Exactly. And the concept that's important for me too is that it's not about you. It's not about your wants. It's about the greater humanity and what you're doing to protect those who can't protect themselves.
Exactly.
And the idea that you think that you're being
revolutionary,
hurt in some way by having to wear a mask or not hug, I don't understand that. But again, I've had to do a lot of work on developing my own resilience to the ebbs and flows of life.
Yeah, exactly.
And so in terms of resilience, as you know, Sarah, I wrote my book and called it Resilience because I had been through an awful lot of stuff
Hold it
in
nice
my
and straight
life.
for us.
And, oh, how's that?
Great.
So that's my book, Resilience, and it's a memoir of all the things that I've been through and how I had to develop that resilience, because life's not easy and there's always going to be something. So again, this week we and a little bit of a trigger warning, we lost one of our precious goats yesterday.
Aww.
And he was one of our favourites, our Pygora goat Jasper, and he was the cuddly, beautiful soul that was part of the goat herd. And he passed away suddenly, but I spent the other night on the veranda with him, just lying on the veranda and being with him, because we knew that he was really sick and the vet couldn't see him until the following day. And that darn goat was like a big fluffy dog, and he put his head on my chest and snuggled up to me all night, and gosh, I was glad that I had that time with him. And when he passed, it was like another huge wrench. Yeah. And when you're talking about resilience, it's that ability to get over and get on with things. Yeah.
Which doesn't mean forget.
And for us, exactly. But gosh, it leaves a hole in your heart that's just. I know. And and yes, he was just a really special animal with very healing ideals. And going back to the topic of resilience, my goats are part of my life resilience package. So when the going gets tough, I'll go and talk to my goats. No, I'm not mad. I am quite sane. But the thing is that they just love you unconditionally. So I can go and sit down there and pat the goats for 5 or 10 minutes. It takes me out of myself and out of whatever is going on at that moment and brings me back and grounds me. That's part of having resilience in your life, is knowing those things that help you maintain an equilibrium when you're really, really stressed or in pain.
Yes.
Yeah?
100%. You know, and we don't realize actually that they may not be speaking to us in words, but they're speaking to us in vibration. No. And they're speaking not to our heads, they're speaking to our hearts and our souls. Yes. And that's where the rejuvenation happens.
Absolutely. And particularly when you're wanting to develop some sort of resilience and some ability to go with whatever happens in life, you need to find those things that bring you back to an equal standing and that ground you. And for some people, that's going for a run. For some people, that's going for a surf. For some people, it's talking to the goats, going for a walk. Whatever it is, you need to find that thing that helps you cope with the ups and downs of life. Because if you don't, you will be resistant and you will be stuck and you will not move through the normal grief patterns and life patterns that we're subject to.
Stagnancy.
And again, going back to, going back to COVID, part of the problem is that people are lacking in those resilience skills, that ability to go, okay, life's changed now. I need to work out how that looks for me and how that works for me and get on with it. Because if you stay in that resistance and resistance to change, that means that you just never move forward, that you never grow, and life should be a continual growth pattern. You should continue to learn and change and move through your life, because that gives you the best version of yourself, and that gives you a beautiful, big, rich life. And I think that's something that everyone wants, isn't it, Sarah?
Well, a lot of people, we talked about this when I was on your show about Who Moved My Cheese.
Yes.
About change. It's a book
Yes.
about change and how to deal with change.
Yes.
And there are still a lot of people that hate change. They don't, it's
Yes.
sometimes that it's just a question of they don't know how to accept change and move on. For others, it's they like their little complacent life and they don't want to see any boat
Yes.
rocked. And also for some people, they've been dictated for so long, that's where they're meant to be, that when you come along and kind of separate it, they don't know how to handle that. Who's there to tell them who they should be now?
Correct.
So you've got to take onus of your own life and your own direction. And there isn't anybody that doesn't have something that comes along like earthquakes us, and freezes out there, where we've now got to, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, give yourself a hug, have a damn good cry. But now what?
Yes.
Now what?
Yes.
Because standing
now what
there,
do I do?
Standing there or having a tantrum or blaming someone else, the finger pointing, three pointing back at you, this is not going to serve you or anyone. So we have to gather ourselves and go, okay, this is obviously a redirect. Where am I going next? Let's be excited about it.
Yeah. Yes. It took me a long time to be, because I'm a Taurian, so I'm kind of fixed and I like routine. It took me a long time to learn these skills that help me deal with life in a better way. And for people who are fixed and don't like change, these skills are learnable and they make life easier. Because if you get stuck or stayed or you don't want to change, it just makes life more difficult. Whereas if you develop those skills that help you move through life in a better way, then that makes life better. And we all want to make life better.
Yeah.
And one of the other things about resilience is to be connected to people that are your people. And Sarah and I have talked about this, and when we first met, there was an instant connection. So if you're listening to your higher level self, you'll know those people as soon as they come along, because there's an instant connection, there's an instant collaborative synergy, there's a vibe. Those are the people that you want to keep in your life, and the others, you can gently move them aside.
They'll move themselves aside because they can't be part of your vibration, right? They just can't fit into that vibe, and they'll move themselves aside.
Yeah. And you need to have a tribe of people around you, because we're humans.
Yes.
And humans are connected to other humans, and we're often connected to each other by stories, which is why Sarah's work and my work is so important, because somewhere along the line, when we went from campfires and storytelling, we've gotten to a modern world where we've somewhere ceased to tell the stories that matter. And the stories can be about anything, from your personal life and through to business.
Right.
Businesses have stories. They have stories about the owners. They have stories about how they got into business. Those stories are important because they're what connect us to humanity as a whole. And
they're the path for others to follow.
Yes.
Right? That's the reason why we tell a story, right?
Shows, we
tell a story
definitely.
because it inspires someone, it invites someone, or it becomes that story to lead, like your resilience. How did you get that resilience? I want to read your book. I want to know how you did it. I have a problem with resilience. So you want to go to somebody that's gone through it. You want to go for somebody who's on the other side of it, because they're your inspiration now. And are you going to do it exactly like them? No, you're going to take some of the things they've done and apply it to you in your own way. But to know that somebody else has been through it, somebody else has achieved happiness and a beautiful life, despite traumas and problems and issues in our lives, that means there is hope for us. But that's where the storytelling is so important. And we talked about this before, about podcasting being a beautiful platform for it, because people can truly unravel themselves. in a fluid conversation and really share what's meaningful to them. And that means whoever's listening is getting that full, beautiful abundance of that person, not snippets on a other, normal radio show or TV where they've got to condense themselves, their lives into 3 minutes and that's it. No, this is a time to unravel and really show who you are, right? And the resilience. I mean,
and
I knew you had goats, but because I've seen it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a power in the podcasting industry that is still untapped.
Yes.
And that power is to get that concentrated content that's not, pardon me, broken up by advertisements or whatever.
Yeah.
You get someone's undivided attention, their undivided knowledge and content that's going to help you in that hour or so that you've got that podcast on and listening to it. And there's never underestimate the power of the spoken word and it being delivered by your ears into your brain, because it'll stay there. You might not remember everything, but subconsciously your brain is picking up on all of what you've heard and leaving it in there. So the more you put those positive, the more you put those positive podcasts into your life, like Sarah's, and listen to them regularly, that also builds up your resilience to life, because you've got it in the back of your subconscious and it's just waiting till you need it to go, oh, I remember that podcast where Sarah talked about XYZ. Okay, I've got it. Righto, I remember that. Let's try that.
It's also speaking to the heart. You know, when you're inspired by something, it's ignited your heart, right? Your spirit is lifted up by it. Your heart is resonant with it. And now it really kind of almost comes beyond the content. The content, as you said, is stored. You know, what is said, they're going to remember snippets of here and there. And then later on, as they come across the situation, you know what? You know, Toni mentioned this, and I'm going to give it a try. And that's the whole point. But when you've got them engaged with the heart, that heart speaks to heart. It has its own language, and it ignites in a different way.
Definitely.
And that means all the knowledge that comes from that heart will be received in a different way, not just in the head, but in the heart as well.
Yeah, that's right. And again, in these times where we're frog in the throat this morning. In these times where we're experiencing such change and flux, it's important to fill your mind, soul, and heart with things that are good for you.
Yeah.
So people should get into the wealth of podcasts out there. There's something for everyone on every subject known to man, but particularly the stuff that Sarah does, it is really positive, wonderful, helpful content. And if you fill your life listening to those things, it's going to have a positive effect.
Well,
you might not
same as
think
with
about
you.
it.
No, you feel about it. You feel about it. You may not think about it, but you feel about it, right? When you're inspired by someone, you know, what kind of life did she have that she had to build up this resilience? You know, when she talks about, you know, being the ox, which we know doesn't like to move very fast, you know, and can be very stubborn. How did she get through that into resilience enough to embrace a different journey? So we want to know. We want to know, because maybe we're at that blockage. You know, maybe we're facing that. I don't know how to move forward. I want to, but I don't know how.
Yeah. You know, some of the things that I learned in that journey were just the simple things, like really simple things. So on the days when it was really bad and I was in that deep, dark, stuck place, there was no lightness or anything. On those days, I started to tell myself that, I'm in a deep, dark place, but all I have to do in the next 5 minutes is breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And some days I would do that constantly just to get through the day. But you know what? the action of those little steps around reminding myself I didn't have to do anything in that time, just breathe. All I had to do was breathe in and breathe out. And do you know what? Slowly, that started to bring me up out of that darkness and that depth of depression and sadness, and I started to see light. So it didn't happen overnight, and it's about reminding yourself that change doesn't happen quickly or easily in most instances. It can happen quickly, but in most instances, it's a slow thing. And by taking it back to simple steps and just doing simple things each and every day, reminding yourself.
I'm just going to, folks, we're back. Unfortunately, we had a bit of bubbling from her right there, kind of, you know, the talk. So she is back now with the wonderful information. But, you know, you were talking about breathing, but also you were talking about how you go to your goats. And I think it's, you know, this is why pets are so important. Children are.
Definitely.
You know, I lost my dog 3 years ago, and I'm not in a position to have another one. So I go to my son's, and he's got 3, and I just absorb them, get as much love as I can stored up. And you know, the thing is we have to look what is around us that will help us. And if we haven't got an animal or ghost or something out there, then what else? And for me, I find music. Music is a wonderful thing. Just listen to music. It's not always the words, but the frequency of the music helps reset you. So do your own due diligence as to what it is that takes you out of head and caresses your heart, because that will calm your spirit. But we've got to be participant and look for what, you know, that resilience to look for something that's going to heal us, and not just go, oh, I give up. No, that's, you know, going to get you nowhere, right? So
don't
resilient enough
don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up, because life is worth living.
Yes.
And everybody has a message, and it could be the simplest of things, from your ability to talk to everyday people on the street, or your ability to smile. Everyone has something special. Everyone. And you need to find what that special thing is. And it doesn't have to be an Oprah level thing. It can be a very simple Sarah thing, Toni thing, Jack thing. It'll be your little thing that you know that you do well. As you told me about,
okay, folks,
obviously.
We had another hiccup. So have to bear with
It's
us.
called it's called the Australian Canadian bubble.
You know, this is something actually what we take for granted, isn't it? Is that we have this incredible thing called the internet, but what people don't realize, it's energy that is going from one thing to the other. And the reason we talk retrograde and people go, what's that? It actually does interrupt the messaging and the connections. And it interrupts that, causes the breakage in there. But I also think very often gratitude is a wonderful thing in resilience, because when you actually start feeding what you're grateful for, instead of, oh, I haven't got this and this didn't work out, but you start looking at what you have got, it shifts your perspective a lot, doesn't it? Did you find that?
Yeah, I was going to say that's the next thing on my list, was I started to actively practice gratitude instead of focusing on everything that was bad. And I'm telling you, it was really, really bad. There were not much good. But what I did was I got a little puppy, and she made me start to feel grateful again. And Bella triggered in me that spark of light. And then I started to practice gratitude on a regular basis. And it starts really simple. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. I'm grateful for this bouncing little puppy. I'm grateful for the food that I have. I'm not on the streets. And those simple practices of finding gratitude in anything, in anywhere, and it can be really simple. I'm so grateful for this warm cup of tea. if you start to practice that and start to do that, it becomes regular in your life. And I'm telling you, people, it will raise your vibration.
Yeah.
It will change the flow of your life. And you can poo-hoo it all you like, but a grateful, gracious practice will enrich your life and change your life, because it did mine. And it was just started as a very simple process, but now I can, anywhere I go, anything I do, I feel it in my heart. So for instance, when I do the drive home from town out to our property, there's a section of road that I go through, and it's like a rainforest. Every time I drive that road, and I drive it oodles and oodles and oodles, I get a flutter in my heart, and I am instantly grateful. So that's how your gratitude practice can become part of your life.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, it will surprise you. You will be somewhere and you'll look at the sky and go, oh, what a magnificent day. I'm so grateful to be here. I walk around my garden, and at the moment it's winter in Australia, and my magnolias are completely bare branched. They've lost all of their leaves, but this is the time of year that they burst into bloom. So you have these bare branches and these magnificent perfumed flowers, and some of them are as big as my hands. And I look at them, and again, that feeling of happy, grateful graciousness fills my heart. And that's as simple as a flower on a tree.
Yes.
So this is not hard. It's not hard to do, and it's not hard to implement into your life, and it will bring you resilience. If you're going through a rough time and you have a grateful, gracious practice, you'll be able to find something to focus on that lifts your spirit. And it's really important that you find that. And so with all this COVID stuff going around, everyone is like, oh, I don't want to stay home. Well, I'm like, what a blessing to have the time to focus on some of the things that we're too busy to when
normally
we're
enjoy
doing normal life.
Yeah. But, you know, also I think there's another word that when you live in gratitude and when you go through the process and when you get to that side of enjoying life, is the word simplicity. Right? When we stop complexing everything, because our minds have been geared and been trained that more is more. I've got to have more. I've got to do more. I've got to be more. And it's so exhausting. And you're never going to be that more. You're never going to be satisfied with what you have. You're never going to be where other people think you should be. So why don't you just simplify your life and look at the simple things in life that bring you joy, that bring you purpose, that give you the ability to do what it is that you're doing, and be productive in that simplicity instead of this complexity of the mind that really just has us chasing an illusion. Did you find simplifying your life really helped?
Another little story. In 2017, we had a huge cyclone come down the Queensland coast of Australia. And when it got down to us, because we're at the bottom of the state of Queensland, a low pressure system from New South Wales come up, combined with the cyclone, and dumped a metre of water in the area around our house. And our property flooded and we lost everything. And so people go, oh my God. Yes, it was traumatic. We spent the night on the dining room table we had my daughter and the grandbaby, who was I think it was about 9 months old. And we knew that it was getting bad because the water started to rise really, really quickly. And so we rang the emergency services and said, we're a bit worried about this. The water's rising. We're surrounded by big power lines. Even though we're in a rural area, our block is on a corner at the junction of two creeks. a river and a creek. And we said to them, we're going to jump on the dining room table. Can you just let us know that this weather system is going offshore? Because if the water's going to keep rising, we're going to have to go into the roof. And that's when they started talking about getting a helicopter in to rescue the baby. And then not long after that, we lost all mobile service and phone and electricity and everything. The water was 70 centimetres inside the house. And we spent the night on the dining room table and woke the next day to a flooded, muddy mess. And, of course, we lost everything. And the thing about losing everything is that it was like the flood came and washed away all the old, and we had good insurance, and it was replaced with new. But we simplified, Sarah.
Yes.
We didn't replace everything we had.
Right.
We just got the basic things that we needed in the house, and of course you just spray everything off. They replace walls where the flood water goes to, and we had the opportunity to replace floor coverings, and what we ended up with was a more beautiful, simpler house. We also raised the house 1.6 metres so that if it ever come to that again, the house would be safe.
Right.
But we were able to experience the love and connection of community, because people came and they brought us food, they brought us clothes, they brought us water, they helped clean mud off trees and the house, and I consider that we were really blessed during that time because we got to experience a love of community and the beauty of humanity. We never would have experienced that had we not been through such a traumatic event.
Where were your goats at this time?
It's that, the Darling goats, we'd moved them twice because they'd said that the water was going to come high. No one predicted this is like a 1 in 500 year flood. So we had them we'd moved them up twice and up into a shed that was close to the house. And then when it got to the next level, we thought, we're going to move them up onto the veranda. And then the water started coming onto the veranda and we're like, okay. So we moved them then into the laundry. We put chairs in the laundry because goats, I don't know if you know, goats hate water. They hate it. They won't even stay out in the rain if it's just sprinkling. They hate water. Put the chairs in the laundry and they stayed in the laundry for I think it was about like 12 hours from the beginning of the flood to the water was gone. And those darling animals were in there in this tiny little laundry room, up on chairs, water all around them. Not a peep did we hear from them.
But because they knew what you were doing. They knew what you were doing for them, right? They trusted you.
Yeah. We lost our 2 big baby doll sheep because as the water rose, they went into shock. And I'm not sure if you know, but when they go into shock, we by the time we got to the sheep, there were us 3 adults. I was up to my waist in water. My husband was up to his knees. My daughter was in water higher than that, trying to shift these shocked little sheep. And of course they were full heavy coats at that stage, and their coats filled with water. They were shocked and we just couldn't move them. And then we got them up as far as the veranda, but then we couldn't move them any further. And so we had to leave them on the veranda, and they were lost in the flood. But I have to kind of think that they were so shocked that perhaps they didn't know quite what was happening. But, all the ducks got, I've got a very clear vision of all our ducks. We had 30 ducks at the time, and as the floodwater sort of swirls around, and as it got to the high point where the ducks had settled, it swirled around and swirled them all up and just took them away. And it was. Well, they came back, like eventually about a week later, they kind of wandered back up onto the property through the mud, and they were looking for food. So that was okay. But from that day on, they decided that they were going to live down the creek and not on our property anymore. So they became creek animals versus farm animals.
Yeah.
And so the flood was over 3.5 years ago, and we've got 3 of those ducks still around and still coming up for feed and their daily dose of hollow ducks and grain. But again, to get through something so traumatic, you need to have resilience.
Yes.
You need to be able to be grateful for, in the midst of pain, shock, trauma, you need to find that gratefulness. And we were grateful that we were alive. We were grateful that the baby was safe.
Yeah.
All of those things.
And ultimately that you could, rebuild, and, you weren't washed away, as we've seen with some people's homes being completely washed away. And we had a fire 20 odd years ago, 22, 23 years ago. And it was really, really strange because whenever I wake up, when I hear a noise, I always wake up and assess before I get out of bed. And on this particular day, I got up, jumped up, and closed my window. And we just put double glazing in my bedroom because we were in the middle of a renovation. And had I not done that, the flames came up the window as I closed it. Had I not, it would have set fire to the curtains and jumped. And I managed to get everybody out, and we're watching our house burn. And it was, it is traumatizing. And then I had to go through everything that was burnt. I had to go through the repurchasing of furniture. We had to stay at different places. And I have to say it was a 3 or 4 month of trauma. And my mother came to stay during that time too, which didn't help. Bless me, your soul. And I just remember come the January, this happened in September, end of September. I remember come the January, I just collapsed. I just couldn't do anything. And but I was very grateful that our insurance, everybody said they're going to gouge you and put up the fee. And it was close to a $400,000 claim with the rebuilding and the furniture else. And they only put our insurance up by $100. And for all of that, we were shocked and very pleasantly surprised. So even though we went through it, and, had to look at things that I've lost, that were burnt and destroyed.
I know.
I had to look at all my children were safe. We had hamsters at that time, and my son got them out. In fact, actually, my son we'd seen the movie Backdraft, and we'd just come back from Universal Studios.
Which was really scary.
But we went through the Backdraft exhibit, and I went to open up this door underneath, outside underneath one of the rooms, thinking to see where it was, and my son hosing me. You can't do that, Backdraft! And he's hosing me wet. And he went in to collect the animals, and my daughter, we got out, but she thought she was dreaming, went back to bed, and both of her walls were aflamed. So, it was not fun. I don't recommend it. I've had floods, I've had fires, I've had thefts, been there, done that. Don't want to go through it again. But in the end, I got a beautiful home. All the kids were safe. Everybody was safe. And we had had a terrible renovation. Terrible. I had such battles. And basically, the insurance came in and stripped the house down to the bare bones and rebuilt it. So it all worked out a blessing in the end. Right?
We are same, because we've got bamboo flooring, and the bamboo that I'd picked in the original flooring just wasn't quite what I'd wanted. So this time round, we've got this beautiful grey beige bamboo, and we just, every time I look at it, it fills me with happiness, because that's the colour that I'd originally did. So without the flood, we never would have been able to change it. So
you've always got to look at
finding the positive.
Right, I mean, even though it's traumatic at the time, and it is, you can't go
Yes,
through these
it
things
is.
without feeling something. You know, you're overwhelmed,
Correct.
you're grateful everybody's okay, but now
Mm.
what? You haven't got a home for them, you haven't got this, that, you know, there's a
Yes.
lot to go
Yes.
through.
Yes.
But at the end of it, when you
There
look at it
is.
and you go, there are so many pluses here. There are so many pluses here
Yes.
to be grateful for.
Definitely.
And then, you know, then it just
Yeah.
becomes a totally different thing. I mean, that whole gratitude thing
Yes.
shifts you on a totally different platform, doesn't
It
it? Totally
does.
different vibe.
It just, it's so powerful,
Yeah.
Sarah. It's just so powerful. And once you learn about gratitude and practice it, it will definitely change your life, and
Yeah.
it will change the way that you look at
Yeah.
trauma and that you look at the things that happen in your life. And so we can refer this to COVID. It's
Yeah.
very traumatic for a lot of people,
Yes.
especially those families that have lost
Yes.
someone. And again, it's about finding what is good, whether they've lived a good life
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is. It's about finding that positive and being grateful for it. And it really has a powerful impact on changing the way you look at life and the way that you do life.
Yeah, I mean, this is around the world right now. This is the, you know, I knew something was
It
coming this year
is.
that was going to unite us, and it's literally around the world. Every country is faced with it, and some
Yes.
countries have handled it very
Yes.
well, Australia being one, New Zealand, and a few
Yeah.
other European countries. In
Yes.
Canada, we've done pretty well.
Yes.
We're in phase 3, and we've had
Yeah,
a
you
few more
have done.
phases, but we've, you know, especially BC, we've been very diligent.
Yes.
Um, and so, you know,
Yes.
and we're very proud the way the government has stepped up for us, you know, because they are
Yes.
financially helping us, even though we're hellishly now in debt as a country.
Yes.
But that is the way it is. You have to be there for your
Same
people.
for Australia.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
And that's the thing
What?
is, you know, there's no one abstaining from this anywhere in the world right now. We're all going through
No,
it. But what does
we're
it
all
mean?
together.
Right, but what does it mean? What's the invitation? You know, we've been shaken up and woken up. Now we've been asked to step up. We know we can't go back to the old norm. The
Yes.
old norm was bad
Oh,
for
agreed.
everyone. So
Not
this is the
working.
time to
Yeah.
paint a new canvas. This is a time in business to
Yes.
look at it, how you're going to do it. I was talking to an educator yesterday.
Yes.
She's normally used to going into corporate and doing all these educational
Yes.
platforms, and she hasn't had a job doing this because
Yes.
everyone shut down. So fortunately,
Yeah.
because of my knowingness that comes along to me, I just went blah, 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 do it this way.
Yes.
And now she's got a whole new
Yes.
platform to go. So look at what you can do, not what you've lost, right? What
Yes.
you've lost
Agreed.
was not meant
Agreed.
to be here anymore. It's who am I now? What have I still got? What tools are in my kit now that
Mm,
I can apply in a
that's
different
right.
way? That's
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
That's where the
Absolutely.
resilience really comes in, right? The
Absolutely.
resilience to roll up your
What?
sleeves and go, okay, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I have gone from that person that was very resistant to change to
Mm-hmm.
when these things happen now, I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't meant to be. Obviously, there's
Yes.
something better coming. And I
Yeah.
always think that there's something better coming.
Yeah.
Always. I no longer think that there's bad coming. I know whatever's coming is good. And there's something about finding the positive and gratitude that gets you into a life flow that's much better for you.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree, Zara. Something's happening in the world, and I'm excited to see
Yes.
what the
Yes.
world is on the other side of that. We're still going through it, and I kind of think that it's going to be for a while yet,
Yeah.
based on what I'm seeing around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we're going to be able to travel like we used
Yeah.
to. So does that mean that there'll be amazing technological advances in air travel
Right.
because
Or
because
maybe
of
we'll be able
this?
to
Like,
beam ourselves over.
I know I can beam myself to your studio instead
Yeah.
of doing Zoom. Like, who knows?
We don't
Like,
know. I
that's
mean,
exciting.
out of necessity comes innovation, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that excites me. That
Yes.
excites me, that the thought of what might come out of this time, and the other big things like being nicer to each
Yeah.
other
Oh,
and
please. Yeah.
being more connected to each other,
Mm.
and uh, and the decrease in racism and
prejudice
the increase
altogether.
in equality.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean,
wouldn't
this is
that
the
be a
invitation.
wonderful world?
Oh, it would be. But,
I agree.
what we have to look at, your resilience to go through what you've gone through, to learn what you've learned, and now turn around and share that with others.
Yeah.
The ability, the skills, and the tool. It does not mean that you're not going to face other things in life. It doesn't mean that now and again you're not going to have triggers of a trauma, but it does mean you're better equipped how to handle it.
It does.
And if we could all willing to step up and go through that process and find our resilience, find our meaningful purpose, step into our instrument, we'll realize that we are part of the solution the world needs.
Absolutely.
Right? So we owe it to the world, we owe it to ourselves right now. Do be resilient and step into something.
Yes. Step back and have a look at your life and see what you can do better. And you might be really amazed at where that takes you. So if you look at me, I was a nurse. I was nursing until 18 months ago, and I sat down and wrote a book and wrote about my life and the trauma and the resilience. And now I have this amazing new platform. So my live radio and podcasting. And how lucky am I that I get to talk to wonderful people like you and all the other amazing people that I get to talk to. Like, what a gift, what a blessing. And that's simply because I made a decision to stop doing what I was doing, take a risk, and write a book. And this is where it's led. It's completely led to something different that I never would have expected.
Right. Depression was for me. I was depressed, wrote an article, reached out to some other people that had problems, and someone said, I like what you have to say, I like your site, do you want to come on my network? I mean, who knew?
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing.
Yes, I know.
Step out of dictation of how things should be and step into productivity of allowing things to lead you where they need you to be.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful place to live your life from, because it takes away the stress and the worry, because you just know that things are right and that they flow in the right direction, that you meet and connect with the right people, and it just happens. And it happens
at its own cosmic time.
Yes.
Not our agenda time.
Yes.
If let go of your human. Yes, take the agenda and throw it out. You can have, a goal. Like I've got something, I know, a blueprint that was given to me that I'm going to achieve. And all it is just take one step, one step. And sometimes it's the chance to run a few steps back. But I know I'll eventually get there because that it was given to me for that reason. But I can't dictate how, when, and what. I've just got to be willing to walk the steps towards it. And it will be when it's be, with whom, and how it's meant to be. Then we don't allow, we dictate all the time, and we get in our own way.
I must do this, or I should do this, or this is expected of me.
Yeah.
Get rid of all of that.
This is the way we should do it. Yeah.
And
we know that doesn't
otherwise,
work,
if you and I listen to the shoulds about women in our age bracket, we would be semi-retired, not doing what we're doing, but instead we get to use this platform to talk to people and help other people. And that's because we made that decision that we should do this, or we should do that, or we
stepped into our passion, a passion we didn't even know we had.
Absolutely.
Right?
I know.
Had you told me 8 years ago this was going to be my platform, it would have been a laugh, And
I know.
If you aren't willing to be adventurous, if you're not willing to explore, how are you going to know what wonderful things are waiting for you? Right? It's step into the exploration of life. I'm in my 60s. I'm not quite sure how old you are, but who cares? It's not a question of how old we are. The only thing is about our age now is permission for us to be ourselves and without any
I know.
apology,
I agree.
without, without having to bend ourselves into a pretzel for anyone else. I am what I
Yes.
am. You can take me or leave
Yes.
me, and I'm
Yes.
doing my passion. Right?
Yes.
That's all we need to
Absolutely.
be.
And I wish someone had taught me this stuff when I
Yeah.
was in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yes.
but having said that, it's a great, I love I'm in my mid-50s, so I love this age. I love the
Yeah.
wisdom that comes with this age. I love the settled life. Kind of doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen, but there's just, it's a lovely life stage to be in and to enjoy and to love. And I just can't wait to see what happens in the next few years. It's exciting for me because I'm relatively young,
Yes.
not young, I'm relatively soon in this journey. So
Yeah.
I haven't been doing it as long as you have.
Mm-hmm.
And look what you've created.
And it started one show at a time on another network,
I
and
know.
here I am, 8
Yes.
years later, 7 years with my own network, 2,500 shows there with most awesome people
Yes.
who have been willing to go through their journey,
Yes.
find their resilience,
Yes.
share that out with the world
Yes.
with passion and conviction. And for me,
Yes.
most certainly,
Yes.
my calling, for you, your calling, but had you told us early, no, we weren't ready for it then. We actually had to gather our life's wisdom, our life's experience before we could be
Yes.
in a
I
position to
agree.
share other stories. So I think that
Yes.
it's a good time to be doing this because we have some
I
perspective.
agree. Yes, yes. And again, who knows what the technology will hold for our industry in the future, because we're already seeing the ability to stream into your social media and into other platforms, and who knows what's next. It's very exciting.
Yes. And, we're looking at, other industries that were studios, and they've all been doing their jobs from Zoom, late night hosts and other talk show hosts and things.
Correct.
And I've actually found it better because people are more relaxed coming from their home. You're seeing people less pretentious, and you're also hearing people speak more openly and honestly because they haven't got the 3 minutes time out, go, and I think it's been a great film. I don't know how they're going to be able to go back to the studio on, with the same platform. They're going to have to change.
I agree. See, that's what I think too. I think that I've found it so enjoyable to do, business networking meetings via Zoom, because you can be in your PJs and still get that wealth of knowledge. I know some people love the face-to-face, but we might not be able to go back to that for a substantial amount of time. So this might become our normal. And that's a good thing.
And I think it's most certainly going to shift to become very much part of the normal. I also think we're going to see all of these big, huge buildings with offices, shrink down, and you're going to see more community offices.
Yes.
People rent offices when they need boardrooms or they need this and that.
Yes.
And instead of having this big, huge building with everything in it, that people will work from home. And this allows people to work with children or to work as long as they're getting the job done. Who cares when they do it?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I think that that's the most powerful thing for corporations. I've seen it again and again that they've discovered that their employees working from home are actually more productive. So why would you go back to the old office idea? I know my husband, so he used to travel every day for 3 hours to get to work from, and so he hasn't since
6 hours a day commute.
To get to, no, sorry, 3 hours a day, an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. It's probably, with traffic, sometimes 4 hours.
Wow.
And he hasn't had to do that. And it's had an immense positive impact on him. And he's just said, well, no, I'm not coming back to work. Like, well, while the virus is around, I'm not going back to work. And they've gone, oh, okay. So he's still, everything you can do via Zoom. There's just no earthly reason why a computer programmer needs to go to an office 2 hours away. It's just a bad use of time.
what we're seeing now is the service industry that used to be taken so for granted and treated as kind of low life
Yes.
have now become the heroes.
Yes.
And, you know, these people do have to go to
Absolutely.
work. They're working 8-hour shifts at the cash register, stocking our shelves, driving
Yes.
our food. My daughter's in
Yes.
service. She works in hotels. She can't work right now. My son has his own restaurant.
Yeah.
So he was doing takeout and
Yes.
delivery, and now they're slowly back opening up to a certain amount of people. And their service industry, and we
Yeah.
look at them totally different, like teachers. You know, how many people go, oh
Absolutely.
my God, I can't wait for the kids to go back to the teachers. I'm going to kiss their feet, right? Because they're realizing what
Yes.
it's like.
Yes.
We have so
Yes.
much more
Yes.
appreciation for people that we took for granted. And we're looking at, is it the
Yeah.
CEO that we need to look at and be all huffed and puffed about? Or is it the janitor that's keeping everything clean and organized for
That's
us, right?
keeping clean,
Yeah.
because that's really important in this
Yes.
current world. You know,
Especially
it's a
the
great.
cleanliness right now is the
Uh,
godliness, you know? Yeah.
that's right. It's a great change in perspective, isn't
Yes.
it, Zara?
Yes, it
That
is.
those people that are so important. Like I've actually never. I've actually, if people treat waiters
Yes.
or cashiers in a bad way, I'm off them. Like,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
going to treat those people bad, I really don't want to be around you, because that's just not okay.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And
I
you know, it's
think
also
that you
trust your
can.
animals too, right? You know, if an animal starts
Yeah.
growling
Oh yes.
or snarling, then you
Dogs.
know, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially, you know, cats, I mean,
Yes.
they're aloof anyway,
They.
but dogs, you know, it's like, I may
Yeah.
not see it, but they see it. So pay
Mm.
attention.
They do. They do. That they really are very smart. So yeah. Yeah. Um,
I mean,
they've
it
just
sounds to
got
me that
that
you've got a great
innate.
life there, you know, because you've got the farmland, you know, you've got the lovely fresh air, you've got this, you know, a beautiful
Yes.
home that you're having with your husband, which is also rare for people to
Yeah.
have their spouses with
Yeah.
them today. And you're doing what you love. So your resilience paid off.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you ever want to look at an example of the importance of gaining resilience skills, then just look at a life that's changed from deep, dark blackness to what is now. And
Yeah.
that's just an attitude change. It all happens up here. That's not
Yes.
some good luck or coming to, that's, it all happens up here in this brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I know what that deep dark despair is. You know, I have an illness that causes depression, and I know what it's like to have
Yes.
that despair. You can't reason with it. You can't,
Yes.
you negotiate with it.
No.
It is something that takes you over. Fortunately, I found the right medication finally, and I have no more rabbit holes.
Yes.
And so now I can really, you know,
Yes.
take those chances and do those things that I couldn't before, because yeah, I just couldn't get out of the
Yes.
darkness. And you know, people,
No,
oh,
I know.
you know, you're so
It's
bright, Sarah. No, no, no. You know, even in the darkness, I shone
you.
brightly for other people, but not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes. It's a bad journey.
Yeah,
Depression is just. It's not fun. There's
it's
nothing
cruel.
nice about it
No,
until it is cruel.
yeah,
Absolutely, it
yeah,
is cruel, and I wish more people talked about it openly, like
yeah,
like you and I have. That it is really a big battle,
yeah.
and often it does come down to finding the correct medicine.
Hmm.
And I'm sure people don't realize that you have to go through so many reiterations to find that right
Yes. Oh,
dose,
took
that
me
right
years.
medication.
Yeah,
Yes, same, and you know, each of the changeovers of medication prompts you back into
yeah,
that place, and then when you find something that keeps you stable for a long amount of time, you're just grateful. You're
yeah.
just grateful.
Yes. And you know, the last
And
thing you need to hear is
it
saying somebody, it's all in the head, snap out of it.
yeah, no,
Don't you think I
you
would if I
you
could? Who
cannot
wants to be there?
could
You
yeah.
know? Yeah, yeah. And you know,
Absolutely, absolutely. But only people who've never experienced
right.
depression
Yeah.
are likely to say that, because any of us that have depression or have worked through depression, you know that there's just no reasoning with that beast.
No,
It is what it
it
is,
has a
and
face of
you've got
its
to
own.
work your
Yeah.
way through it.
Yes, if you're lucky.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is, you know, this is when you do need people around you, but you don't want people
Yes.
around you. And so, you
No,
know, it,
I know.
Yeah.
dichotomy of,
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
my God, I just don't come near me. I just want to stay in this black room and in this black hole. But you actually need people to just, and that's one thing. For people struggling with depression, sometimes you just need a physical person just around you, not saying anything, not necessarily doing something, just being there and just holding space for you while you get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
a
also
tough,
find having
nasty thing.
a purpose, for me, what helped me kind of stay above it, maybe not get rid of it, but because it went in waves, was purpose.
Yes.
And that, I have been kind of in the pits, really hardly able to move, totally in despair.
Yes.
And then I've gone and done a show.
Yes.
And that show has fed me.
Yes.
And that energy of that show has
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's, although we don't want to because we want to curl up and die.
Absolutely.
What we need to do is find something we love to do, because that takes us out of ourselves and raises up that energy without us even knowing.
Yeah.
So it's important to find that something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All I wanted to do this week is to curl up into a hole and mourn the loss of my beloved little Jasper. But again, that purpose, my purpose is to talk to you and do another radio show in a little while. And that gets you up, because it's like, I have to do this. I'm going to do this. This is important. People are.
Right. And the thing is, you can still have good tears. You can still feel down and need a hug.
Yes, yes.
You can still go out to the other goats. Yes. I miss them too. It's not abstaining from the feeling. It's just removing yourself from the pain of it, so you have more energy to go and face it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And that is resilience.
Yeah. That is resilience in a nutshell.
It is.
And something that every single one of us needs to find. What is our resilience?
Yes.
To everyone listening out there today, have a good talk with yourself. What's your resilience? Where have you shown your resilience in your life? Well, I got through that and I didn't know how. Resilience. I faced this and I managed to get through it. Resilience. So start putting that word resilience with things that you've achieved, because it's resilience that got you through it, right? The tenacity, the conviction, the resilience to get through the other side.
That's right. And then you'll find and
not
go,
over and above.
Yeah. Yes, definitely through. And once you discover that about yourself, you'll start to see things differently, and life will slowly start to get better.
Yes. And when it does, then you simplify your life and everything that you do. You do things that give you joy, that give other people joy.
Yes.
And you find so many things to be grateful for, but they're simple things. So you're not chasing life anymore. You're experiencing life on a much smaller scale.
And that's an important difference.
Scale. Oh, huge difference. Yes. Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah. You're not looking for happiness out there. You're finding it in here. Right?
Yes. And you have to find it within. You have to start with you. It starts with you. No one else. No one else can do this for you. It starts with you and your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody else can live your life for you. They may try.
No.
But they can't. And you have free will.
That's right.
And even if something has happened to you that you didn't have a choice of, you do have a choice of how you're deciding to cope with it and get through it. Where you're going to find your resilience from. And there isn't anybody living that hasn't had something to face, but is how do you face it? What do you learn?
Everyone has something.
How do you get through it, and what does it mean? Because always when you get through to the other side, you understand what it meant.
Yes, there's always learning.
Yeah.
Always look for the learning. What's this situation trying to teach me? What do I need to learn from this situation? How will learning about this improve my life? Yeah. That introspection, we all need that.
Yes. Life is an inside-out job, and the thing is, you'll enjoy your outside a hell of a lot more when you're happy inside. Most definitely.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Simple joy, simple love, find your passion, be willing to find that resilience. And, whether it's COVID, whether it's a loss of a job, whether it's just something, whatever it is you're facing right now, we know you can do it.
Yes.
We know you can get through it.
Absolutely.
Dig down deep. It's in you. It's in you. Be
It
prepared
is.
to look for it. Be prepared to strive for it and say, I don't care if I am going through the mud like the ducks. I'm going to get back home.
Yes. 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 You've just reignited that vision of those little ducks, because they walk up in a line, and you have this line of ducks all the way up to the grain, so they could go nom 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 and all the way back down again.
It just shows. Can you imagine if our animal kingdom gave up every time something faced? I mean, look at what Australia went through last year with fires. Look at how many animals lost, how much land lost, and yet nature has a way of coming back. Nature has a way of reviving again. Why can we not take a lesson from nature?
It does.
From death, it comes back to life. We can too.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for everyone listening, just know that there is always hope.
Yes.
There is always a brighter future.
Yes.
But sometimes you have to search for it. Sometimes you have to work for it. But it's so worthwhile, isn't it, Sarah?
100%. I may be poorer than I used to be, but I consider myself incredibly enriched and abundant for who I am, what I'm doing, and where my life is. And I wouldn't change this for anything.
Absolutely.
Anything that I had before my kids was really just the journey to get here. And that was it. And I really love who I am and what I'm doing. And that's ultimately what we're looking for in life, isn't it? We want to look at ourselves and say, I love me and what I'm doing and what I'm contributing to the world. Whatever it is that you're doing, we want to feel that, because we don't want to feel useless. We don't want to feel hopeless. We don't want to feel, well, nobody would miss me if I go. All right? Well, be something that somebody will miss. Well, there we go. I've got one. And laugh. Please don't forget to laugh at life. You know, sometimes all you can do is just have a good belly laugh, because there's no reasoning. You know,
definitely.
When you look at the president of America, all you can do is laugh.
That should make you laugh. That should definitely make you laugh.
Yes, and you know, finding something to laugh at. You know, it's good for your heart and your soul. It's good for your energy. It's good for your entire body. Chemically, it's really good. It is very good.
Yeah.
So if you are sad and down, if you are stuck, go and put on a funny movie. Go and put on something that's going to make you laugh. Go be around people that are going to lift you up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, important.
Or watch a good comedy on a comedy series. Anything that makes you laugh will get you out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Play with your puppies.
Definitely.
Chasing a ball. If you can't smile at that, there's nothing that's going to make you smile. Nothing.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
So, my dear, how do people catch your shows? Where did they catch them? When did they catch them? And how do they find you?
Okay, so I have my own websites. My first one is Toni Lontis, ToniLontis.com. And I also have a Radio Toni website, radiotoni, all one word.com. There's a Radio Toni Facebook page. And my shows are on the Women for Women's Network out of Florida. So that's W4, the number 4, WN.com. And that show is 9 o'clock on Thursdays, Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the US. And my BBS shows are on, I have a new show starting in just under an hour on BBS Radio, so 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. Pacific Time, USA. And I have another show on Thursday, 12 midday on BBS Radio and bbs.com. BBS Radio, and if you search for Radio Toni, you'll have all the show information, all the previous shows, and the podcast version of the live show is available anywhere where you get your podcast. So just type in Radio Toni and you will find any of the podcasts from any of the platforms of any of the shows. So thank you so much, Sarah, for having me today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for interviewing me
from Canada.
Oh no, it was great, and I've shared the show out. You know that I've done with you, and it will also be on your
It
show
was
page, so
great.
people can come and listen to you. And if they want to come and listen
Absolutely.
to
I was
us
just going
again,
to say,
yeah, come on, enjoy the conversation.
my
It gets
show.
better.
My show with Sarah is on my webpage already, and I'm hoping by now it's shared on my socials. I have a little bit of help with some of my sharing, and it doesn't always go out when it's planned to go out, but it will be there. It's definitely up on the website already. But yeah. Sarah, thank you so much.
No, thank
I
you,
hope
love.
the weather gets a little bit cooler because you said it was
Oh,
hot before.
no, we need it warmer. We do. We have all our restaurants outside now, so we need it warmer for them so we can sit outside. So we're only kind of going into our 20s, 21s, which I can cope with. That's fine.
Yes.
But we do need it warmer. We haven't had summer yet, so we're waiting for it. So we need it.
Yeah.
I was talking to
someone in Vancouver. Yeah, I was talking to a girl in Vancouver yesterday, and she said that the rain, they'd had rain on rain in Vancouver and hadn't really had much in some sunny days. And I thought, oh, you poor things.
No, we're waiting, but we'll probably have an extraordinarily hot August. So, you know, it'll go to the other extreme, won't it? But, you know, no, 2021's my good heat. I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that's nice temperature.
That's pleasurable.
Unlike Australia that gets to 35 and the rest.
Yes.
20 is much nicer.
Yes, exactly. I lived in South Africa for 11.5 years. I remember the heat. Yeah. You're driving in the Karoo and you can just see the shimmer of everything because it's so hot. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I don't like the heat. I'd much rather snow and cold. Thank you very much. But yeah.
Maybe not the snow. You can have that, but a little cooler. That'd be fine. The age is showing. Oh, well, thank you so much, Toni. This is wonderful. I'm glad we did this. And, you know, resilience, it's just something everybody wants, everybody needs. It's within every single one of us to do and to find but we've got to realize resilience is an action. It's not a thought.
It is.
It is an intent in action. And so the resilience means that you've got to step into actionism and actually do something.
Yes.
Do something to find that resilience, and it will take you through the process. And boy, when you're on the other side, will you be grateful?
And once you've discovered those skills, you use them again and again and again and again with whatever life throws at you.
Yeah. And you'll be able to do it with a smile and a few deep breaths.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much.
Oh, Sarah, it's lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Hopefully one day I will get back to Canada.
I was meant to be out in Australia this year. I was meant to be.
I know. I know.
Who knows what next year is going to be about, right? It'll be so many people traveling next year. You know, we'll see. But we just go with the flow right now and be resilient and just allow things to happen as they're meant to happen.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, my dear.
Thank you so much. And to everyone else.
Thank you so much.
Remember, resilience is the word. It's within you. It's waiting for you to take action. And until next time, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.